some math, some stats and facts to back up what was a little bit of a notion, something I wrote about on Saturday and discussed Saturday night on the podcast. There was sort of a phrase that I heard a lot that was, this didn't happen under Saban. The idea that they wouldn't come back and be able to like thrash South Carolina after the Vanderbilt loss and get right. It's like, oh yeah, well, that never happened under Saban. And Danny, you might have heard I credited you. Like, you were the one who was out last year and the year before being like, Alabama is playing more one-score games than they ever did during their peak. Like this already, the dynasty is done. They're still a really good team. They still won 2 SEC championships in the last 3 years. No one's arguing that. But you could see that they were not levels above everyone else. Well, Nick Saban, in his career at Alabama, after a straight-up loss, just 8-14 against the spread. There are more examples of Alabama coming out of a straight-up loss under Nick Saban and failing to meet the odds makers' expectations than there are of them having this tremendous bounce-back statement that I think a lot of people imagine. Because everyone, you think about Nick Saban's like, oh, Nick's going to get into their ass this week, and now they're going to come out and they're going to crush him. Well, you know what they did after they lost to Texas last year? They almost lost to South Florida. And do you know what happened after Jaden Daniels ran for 1 million yards on them? They won, but they didn't cover against Ole Miss back in 2022. And there just are more examples than I think your mind wants to realize of the way that Alabama responded to these very rare straight up losses. And so it was almost like not an apology, but just a reminder when we're looking at Kalen DeBoer, as he is absolutely facing an immense amount of pressure to try to be able to deliver results the rest of the way, that this would have never happened under Saban doesn't apply to the way that you play coming off a loss.
I wish you guys could have seen Damian Harris, who does the pregame show with me, former Alabama running back. He was losing his mind because I think in his mind, he's like, we never would have played that way against this team. We would have blown him out. I think even he might not be able to see the truth in that. The other thing that I've seen too, and I think this was, because after Malachi Moore lost it last week and that, clip went viral and everybody's like, Nick Saban wouldn't allow this and this is undisciplined behavior. Several accounts went back and found some receipts with players fighting on the bench, players going after Saban, AJ McCarron going after Barrett Jones, like in a blowout.
Saban screaming at Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. Right, exactly. There's all kind of stuff. It's like we have this recollection that, we put people on a pedestal, and I get that it's different, but it's like and I know it's like we're asking people to have some rationale that really don't have much. So I just thought it was very interesting.
I would like to make a plea with our listeners and our viewers. Don't be rational. We rely on you all being insane. We're insane, and we need you to be insane too when it comes to this sport. Thank you.
It still is very, very jarring, though, to hear Kalen DeBoer at halftime, and he is cool, calm, and collected. I mean, he is not upset at all. And in the post game, he is just chill. It is jarring, though, and I get it why Bama fans for the past 15 years have been hearing one message coming from there, and to hear a coach who doesn't seem bothered at all by it, it is pretty jarring.
I mean, if you think about it, if you're Kalen DeBoer, you got to the title game last year playing these games. Like, how many one-score close games was Washington in last season?
9.
He's probably just like, this is what Saturday's supposed to be like, right?
Right. We won.
It's close, it's crazy, and then we win. Isn't that the gig? I don't know. I'm confused.
Yeah, I wasn't that down on Alabama for this weekend. Like, they legitimately played better quality of football than they played against Vandy.
And it's 14-0. If the minutes before half play out differently, right, which I do think that was the one criticism I had for Kalen DeBoer, was allowing Milroe to throw it 3rd and 18 and they had the interception. Like, why not just run it and get into halftime? Just don't even put him in that position, because he forced the ball down the field, and that was the return when they got the cheap field goal to kind of capture some more momentum before half. Yeah.
So were you rooting for South Carolina, like aggressively in front of Damian, or were you like playing it in the middle, or like, I mean, how
Danny? I don't think Danny would ever do anything like that.
I was going to say, like, how'd you play that one?
So it was actually, I don't know if he'd be mad if I said this. I might have to tell you guys off air.
Yeah.
No, I can tell you because there's context to it. But he was like, now I hope these MFers lose. And he didn't clean it up a little bit because he was like, they were playing so bad. He wanted it just to have the
to learn
players
the
suffer
lesson.
the
They didn't
pain.
learn the lesson type stuff.
Yes, he wanted them to, so, but then he was cheering for them obviously to win at the end of the game. It was pretty wild. But yeah, I was just rooting for chaos. That's usually what I root for.
So like when you're like,
Danny was just a
you're-
sympathetic shoulder. He's like, there, buddy, it's gonna be okay.
I like to
Cardell.
Wow, wow, look at this.
Cardell had about a 12-way parlay. And so there was one game, some random, I think it was, I forget what game it was. I was rooting for the total to go over. And he's like, shut up, man. He was way more mad at me than Damian was over the Bama stuff. It was the 12-leg parlay that had about 10 ways that had to go that were like right on the cusp. And I was one of the bets. I was against him and he was mad. So I was like, all right, I can be a team player.
There is a market that would watch a camera in that room.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I don't know if I want to open everybody up to that and let everyone. You're already on camera for like 5 hours during that day. Let you have a little bit of time where you're not having to dance for everyone. All right, Bud. Yep.
I was gonna say I would never want to be on camera during the second half of that Illinois Purdue game. I might get fired.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it is so human that we need to be able to have those moments to react. And I know that that's like a thing in the industry, right? Like the cameras that are, you watch everybody else, like watch everything, capture all the reactions. I get it, but we need to preserve ourselves. We'll come meet you on camera when it's time to go.